let's begin. This might take a while. There's a lot of video clips to get to. I got to do a thorough job on this. Perhaps drive that stake into the heart of the NPR beast that has been responsible for. We got taxpayers funding a disinformation campaign. Maybe, or perhaps I'm wrong. I don't know. We'll jump into it. It wasn't just NPR; it was also PBS. CEOs were grilled on Capitol Hill using our taxpayer money to push propaganda. So it was a tense hearing helmed by the Doge chairwoman Marjorie Taylor Greene and NPR CEO Katherine Maher and PBS CEO Paula Kerger. But they were both grilled on the respective public broadcasting networks' use of taxpayer money to fund slanted anti-Trump reports. Starting the meeting off with a bang, MTG putting Katherine on the hot seat.
Your public statements and social media posts reflect left-wing ideology and blatant opposition to free speech. After all, you were the head of Wikipedia for many years, which is a platform that doesn't tell the truth. Let's walk through some of your statements so the public can understand your personal views. Your fellow Americans.
And this is why it's good and why I'm focusing on the NPR lady and not the PBS, because the PBS lady was not making a lot of controversial tweets over the years. So it wasn't as many highlights.
Your fellow Americans just elected Donald Trump as president again this past November. You called him a deranged racist and sociopath. You posted on X.
Right there, that should have ruined your qualifications for even getting a job in the first place, unless you want to go along with your blatant partisan agenda.
You've publicly chastised using the phrase boy and girl, which you said erases the language for non-binary people. There's only two genders, by the way.
Yeah, that's kind of one of those things. Yeah, when you're born, you're either a boy or a girl. There's no such thing as non-binary. That is a term that comes up much later. And it's one of those things that just rattles Democrats' brains these days. They've lost their way.
Ms. Maher, the federal funding that your outlet receives comes from all American taxpayer dollars, not just from your viewers who support such statements as these. Let me inform you.
Yeah, that's one of the good points here. If you're taking funding from everybody, then you should be nonpartisan in the way you're presenting your information. And NPR does some good job. They do a good job with some of their investigative reports and some of their things. But when they talk about political events, they are completely skewed one way. So there should be, if people want to if they want to donate money to NPR, I think it's a dumb idea, but go for it if that's what you like. But maybe they're only confirming your biases in the first place, and they're spreading propaganda, and you need to be aware of that.
Your federal funding is also paid for by the other half of the country, the 77 million Americans who voted for President Trump, someone you called a deranged, racist sociopath. Ms. Maher, many find your pro-censorship and anti-free speech views more concerning than your politics. The only speech you like seems to be speech that you agree with. In 2021, you called the First Amendment the #1 challenge in American journalism because it makes it hard to crack down on bad information. You said in a TED Talk that our reverence for the truth might be a distraction. You've also expressed support for deplatforming individuals you view as fascist.
Congresswoman, Madam Chair, thank you so much for the opportunity to address this. I know.
Do you is it
It's going to be a long day, so just get ready.
is it up to you and NPR to crack down on bad information or decide the truth? Answer the question, yes or no, Ms. Maher.
Absolutely not. I'm a very strong believer in free speech, and I believe that more speech.
Your public statements say otherwise, Ms. Maher.
Yeah, let's see what she would actually say behind the scenes, not when she's being, publicly grilled here. And yeah, she came from Wikipedia, which is, a pretty questionable source of information. Some things they do okay, but there's an extreme bias within that organization. So why NPR ever thought she'd be qualified for this position is beyond me. But again, it's because it confirms what they want to believe. So this is the problem with the people in the bubble in the Beltway. But they have the receipts here. She wasn't vetted very thoroughly. It says, what is that deranged racist sociopath ranting about today? I truly do not understand. So she just sounds like a rank and file leftist. Not somebody that should be running a news organization, somebody that all taxpayers are funding. So let's get to the Nazi part.
In fact, when Elon Musk put his hand over his heart and extended it and told the American people his heart goes out to them, PBS News posted the clip, called it a fascist Nazi salute, and described how it was similar to the same Heil used by Nazis at their victory rallies. Not once did PBS or NPR report on the numerous accounts of Democrats making the same gesture. AOC, Kamala Harris, Barack Obama, Elizabeth Warren, somebody that lost a presidential race, Hillary Clinton.
They're all Nazis.
Why wasn't this treated exactly the same way? Is there not a standard in journalism today? Apparently not.
Yeah, very curious. Have they commented about that? Have they run a segment about how bad it is that so many people are doing Nazi salutes? Or were none of them actually doing a Nazi salute? I think she dodged one of these meetings last year. I think they were trying to call her up to the Hill, and I don't know if she went or not. But yeah, she couldn't dodge this one. And now that it's the Doge meeting, and now they've got to decide, where they're going to be spending all of their money. Might be trying to cut back on some of these programs, especially if they're just, poisoning the public with propaganda.
Now, you've had a long history, including the thing that I mentioned about lack of reverence for truth, and how reverence for truth, you've even talked about the First Amendment kind of getting in the way of what you wanted to get done. And then you're wanting us to believe that NPR is now taking this non-biased approach. I mean, where was the come to Jesus moment for you, I guess, that has turned you around and that we can trust the American taxpayer dollars with your leadership of NPR?
I so appreciate the opportunity to perhaps clarify some things. My talk about truth was really referencing the way that people use truth to refer to belief as opposed to facts. And my encouragement was that we focus on facts. With regards to the First Amendment...
That's not what your comment said. Your comment said that truth was getting in the way of getting things done and that you were prioritizing what you wanted to get done over truth.
Yeah, but once again, we have the receipts. So here she was not too long ago. I guess this was a TED Talk.
But one of the most significant differences, critical for moving from polarization to productivity, is that the Wikipedians who write these articles aren't actually focused on finding the truth. They're working...
So the people working on Wikipedia aren't focused on the truth.
for something that's a little bit more attainable, which is the best of what we can know right now. And after 7 years there, I actually believe that they're onto something. That for our most tricky disagreements, seeking the truth and seeking to convince others of the truth isn't necessarily the best place to start. In fact,
7 years at Wikipedia, but truth is not the best place to start. I don't know what the hell she's. I guess this is how they just justify all of the censorship that goes on at Wikipedia.
I think our reverence for the truth might have become a bit of a distraction that is
Bit of a distraction. You got to wonder if, like, Encyclopedia Britannica has these same types of meetings. It's not really about the truth. It's supposed to get everything you can right. Try to be relatively objective about it.
preventing us from finding consensus and getting important things. A bit of a distraction.
Okay, so the truth has become a distraction.
Preventing us from finding consensus and getting important things done.
Getting important things done, like ends justify the means. Just what we want people to believe, not necessarily what the truth may be. Is that how I'm supposed to be interpreting this? But yeah, she's been under fire for this for a long time. Because you make statements like that, you have no business running a news organization. But maybe if it's a private one, or if you want to work for the Wonket or something. But not when you're taking taxpayer dollars to bring news to the public. James Comer blasted Maher for NPR's misrepresentation and distortion of his investigation into the Biden crime family. Yeah, this is going to be pretty damning stuff too. Let's check this out.
I don't even recognize the station anymore. It's not news. I feel like it's propaganda. I feel like there's disinformation every time I listen to NPR. And, a media entity like MSNBC or Huffington Post that, in my opinion, consistently spews disinformation, they can do that. They're a private company. But NPR gets federal funds. If all they have is public radio, then all they know is what these headlines say. And they're wrong. About Russian collusion, wrong. About the Hunter Biden laptop, wrong. And then there's a story about me. And part of what we went through on this committee during the Biden investigation, which, by the way, ended with Joe Biden's last act as president of the United States, pardoned his entire family preemptively for an 11-year period, which just so happened to be the 11-year period that this committee investigated the Bidens, that we had subpoenaed bank records. I don't think NPR reported about the pardons, but they reported a lot about how there was no evidence of any wrongdoing and things that just weren't true.
Yeah, there's going to be a shocking double standard coming up with Comer and Adam Schiff and the way NPR covered certain stories. That should be damning to them. Let me check this clip out.
About this story, October 2020, the New York Post had the Hunter Biden laptop story. And one of those editors, I guess one of those 87 Democrat editors, said this: we don't want to waste our time on stories that are not really stories. We don't want to waste the listeners' and readers' times on stories that are just pure distractions. Was that a pure distraction story?
Our current editorial leadership believes that was a mistake, as do I.
Yeah, the whole country knows that was a mistake. Definitely impacted the election.
Yeah, that was blatant election interference, too. They dismissed the entire Hunter Biden laptop story.
First of all, I do want to say that NPR acknowledges that we were mistaken in failing to cover the Hunter Biden laptop story more aggressively and sooner. Our current editorial leadership.
Wuhan?
We recognize that we were reporting at the time, but we acknowledge that the new CIA evidence is worthy of coverage and have covered it.
Yeah, we seem to have gotten all of the major stories wrong. Funny how that works. Let's check out this freshman Congressman Brandon Gill making a name for himself. I never heard of him, but he's certainly on my radar today. So he's calling her out for many of the tweets that she wrote, some just like in the last few years. Here we go.
Do you believe that America is addicted to white supremacy?
I believe that I tweeted that, and as I've said earlier, I believe much of my thinking has evolved over the last half decade.
It has evolved. Why did you tweet that?
I don't recall the exact context, sir, so I wouldn't be able to say.
Okay. Do you believe that America believes in black plunder and white democracy?
I don't believe that, sir.
You tweeted that in reference to a book you were reading at the time, apparently, The Case for Reparations.
I don't think I've ever read that book, sir.
Tweeted about it. You said you took a day off to fully read the case for reparations. You put that on Twitter in January of 2020.
Apologies, I don't recall that I did.
Okay.
I wonder who's actually running her Twitter account. She doesn't have a very good memory. Or she's playing stupid, but they've got the receipts. This is inexcusable. Just admit it. And just say you've grown past it.
No doubt that
But you're saying a little bit.
your tweet there is correct, but I don't recall that.
Okay. Do you believe that white people inherently feel superior to other races?
I do not.
You don't. You tweeted something to that effect. You said, I grew up feeling superior. Ha, how white of me. Why did you tweet that?
I think I was probably reflecting on what it was to grow up in an environment where I had lots of advantages.
Do you think that white people should pay reparations?
I have never said that, sir.
Yes, you did. You said it in January of 2020. You tweeted, yes, the North, yes, all of.
She did not show up very prepared for this. I don't know. You got all these Congress people digging through your background, and you didn't think that you're just blindsided by all of it? Oh, my goodness. All right, let me back up a little bit.
You said it in January of 2020. You tweeted, yes, the North, yes, all of us, yes, America, yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt, yes, reparations, yes, on this day.
I don't believe that was a reference to fiscal reparations, sir.
What kind of reparations was it a reference to?
I think it was just a reference to the idea that we all owe much to the people who came before us.
That's a bizarre way to frame what you tweeted.
It sure is. What else did reparations mean?
Okay, how much reparations have you personally paid?
Sir, I don't believe that I've ever paid reparations.
This is what's hilarious when you take a rabid leftist out of their bubble and you have to deal with other people and getting your reality exposed in real time. It's not good. Long day for her. Big reality check.
You tweeted, it's hard to be mad about protests in reference to the BLM protests, not prioritizing the private property of a system of oppression. You didn't condemn the looting. You said that it was counterproductive. NPR also promoted a book called In Defense of Looting. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars?
I'm unfamiliar with that book, sir, and I don't believe that was at my time at NPR.
You tweeted that you read that book, but...
Check out another one.
I don't buy that argument.
We do have
I
a
wonder
separate
if any of the
fellowship
members of
about
the
that,
committee would comment real quickly. Would you agree that Real America's Voice, Newsmax, Fox, or News Nation, if they were to see federal funds, would you all support that? Yes or no? Mr. Ullman? Yes or no?
I'd have to get back to you on that.
Come on, man. You gotta get back to you on that. The answer is no. But I mean, it's the double standard. So NPR is far left, and it's okay for them to take taxpayer dollars. But you can't go give money to somebody, the Breitbarts or the Newsmaxes or the OANs or the Real America's Voice. No, they should. I wouldn't think that we should support them with taxpayer funds either. Really not that many news outlets. I mean, everyone's got their own biases. But you're supposed to earn your subscribers by, establishing trust or putting out some good information. They've gotten just so accustomed to just doing things their own way and just getting, all the money showered on them. But now they've got to change that around. Got to start cutting back here. Waste, fraud, and abuse. So, got to cut some of these programs. Okay, let's got a few more seconds here.
Ma'am?
Yeah. I actually don't have an opinion about that.
Ma'am?
Don't have an opinion on that one.
I don't have an opinion about that, sir. That would be Congress's decision.
Thank you, Chair Lady.
Thank you.
That's weak. Got another one for you from Representative Fallon. Talking about the double standard here and of the coverage. It's another angle of this.
And PBS. Ms. Maher, I'm sure you're aware that Hunter Biden had a laptop.
I am, sir, yes.
Okay. And there were many stories written about said laptop.
Yes, sir.
And in 2020, unfortunately, NPR's managing editor for news refused to cover the story, and he branded it a, quote, waste of time, not a real story, and a distraction. And instead, unfortunately, of NPR investigating, they ran a puff piece that led with, experts say attack on Hunter Biden addiction deepens stigma for millions. It's unfortunate that NPR ignored the Hunter Biden laptop story, but y'all did talk quite a bit about the debunked Russia collusion. Do you know how many times NPR interviewed Adam Schiff about
Congressman, I would love to say that we actually believe we made a mistake on the Hunter Biden laptop story.
And I appreciate that. Thank you. How many times did y'all interview Adam Schiff about the Russia collusion?
I'm sorry, I don't have that number.
It was 25 times. You know how many times NPR interviewed Chairman of this committee, Oversight Committee, Jamie Comer, about?
Yep, we just saw James Comer, who's ran the investigation on the Biden crime family and all their shady business dealings.
The Biden impeachment inquiry, or the Hunter Biden tax evasion and illicit business dealings of the Biden family.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
I believe that's 0, so it's 25-0.
The Russian collusion hoax. So they interviewed Adam Schiff 25 times, but then when Comer, he had a great investigation going against the Biden family, and 0 times did they even reach out to him. So massive double standard, extreme bias. So let's check out another clip. Almost done. Told you, it's going to be this is the headline story. We got to do a big, thorough piece here on NPR. Put NPR out of its misery. Just with its own facts here, not just because I'm, biased to some degree. They are, and people need to be aware of this. It really frustrates me just in my own personal life. So many people that I know, who I barely talk to anymore. A lot of them just because they love NPR. Why would they listen to me? I'm a crazy, wacko conspiracy theorist. They trust the people on NPR. They even give money to them. But why? They're being poisoned by the propaganda, and they don't realize it.
How long do you work at NPR?
I believe he was there just over 25 years.
25 years? Award-winning journalist? Did he win any awards?
What is this guy's name? Uri. He was one of the great journalists that they had, who was like the one kind of lone Republican, sort of conservative, right-leaning editor that they have, an award-winning journalist who kind of blew the whistle on them and said, I've been here for like 25 years, and oh my God, this has changed dramatically over the years. They're not the same organization. They clearly have a major bias. Of course, he's out. They let him go, but then they're keeping Katherine here. So let's keep going.
Our time to
Peabody Award, that's pretty important, isn't it?
That is, absolutely.
So pretty distinguished journalist, right?
Certainly.
And he wrote a long story about what you do at NPR. Is NPR biased?
Congressman, I have never seen any instance of political bias determining editorial decisions.
That's because she is in her own bubble and she believes the BS. So now she's on Capitol Hill getting her bubble popped.
No.
Well, Mr. Berliner.
Yeah, Uri Berliner.
In his story last year wrote, in the D.C. area, editorial positions at NPR, he said he found 87 registered Democrats, 0 Republicans. Is that accurate?
We do not track the numbers or the voter registration, but I find that concerning.
Award-winning journalist who worked 25 years at NPR, Mr. Berliner, was he lying when he wrote that?
I am not presuming such. We don't track that information about our journalists.
87 to 0, and you're not biased?
I think that is concerning if those numbers are accurate.
It's concerning. I mean, it wasn't 44-43. It wasn't 60-27. It wasn't 70-17. It wasn't even 80-7. It was 87 Democrats, 0 Republicans, and you say NPR is not biased. How about the big stories over the last few years? According to Mr. Berliner, again, he wrote, on the Trump-Russia story. He wrote, at NPR, we hitched our wagon to Trump's most visible antagonist, Representative Adam Schiff. He said they interviewed him 25 times.
Okay, well, we don't want to repeat that, but we get the point there again. So how do you make that? I mean, how do we justify taxpayer dollars going to an organization that is 87-0 as far as their voting record goes, as far as their political bias? I mean, that'd be like, MSNBC. We wouldn't fund Fox or Newsmax or any of that stuff. So you can't do this. You can't be that extreme partisan. So it's good that this is getting exposed. Everybody needs to see this. And they should just absolutely start defunding NPR immediately. They should be warning people about giving them any more money, because it's just all confirmation bias. They tell you what they want to believe, but not necessarily what the truth is. She's admitted she doesn't even care that much about the truth. She came from Wikipedia. Yeah, the taxpayer-funded arm of the DNC. Yeah, how else can you spin that? So they don't want them to cut their funding because they support the Democrats. It makes them look good. So they're fighting to keep that funding. And so they're just going to find their supporters to give them money because they think they're being told the truth, but clearly they're not. There's way too many examples. This is damning. There's no way around this. Let's see. The NPR's leftist CEO's testimony is laughable, but the joke's on the taxpayer. Sure is. Oh, here she is, Katherine Maher, with her all masked up, wearing her Biden president hat. That's a impartial journalism. Wikipedia, I mean, that's another joke right there. I mean, they never should. It's just a basic vetting through her tweets and her history at Wikipedia and that TED Talk. And she should have been, nope, sorry, Katherine, good luck to you. Keep your job at Wikipedia. We hold ourselves to higher standards here at NPR. That's right, here it is. Highest journalistic standards. And perhaps something will be done. The end of an era for the state-run propaganda media outlet. Yeah, there you go, Frankie. Yeah, I agree. Defund them. It's done. It's over. The end of an era. You had a good run.